Hello everybody, I hope you're all well. I'm the Introverted Astrologer, and today we'll be considering how Donald Trump and Elon Musk are getting along. Will their relationship be a stable one? Certainly there have been so many startling changes in domestic and international policy since Trump's inauguration. Can Trump and Musk keep up this frenetic pace of reforms? And with that, let's bounce right into Elon Musk and Trump's charts. Here we have the progressed charts for the richest man in the world and arguably the most powerful man in the world. We have their natal birth charts in the centre, and the progressed planets are placed around the outer edge in green. Now, I haven't gone into great depth about Elon and his forthcoming year, although I am currently working on his solar return. I'm not going to bring it into today's video, but suffice to say that both of these people are having considerable Jupiter energy at the moment. It's showing up in progressions and in transits, and so they're both subject to this urge to expand and expand. Self-restraint is probably not the right keyword for these two at the moment. Quite the opposite. And I say this because we can see that Elon's progressed sun down here in Leo is pulling into a square with his natal Jupiter. Moreover, this progressed sun is also square to the progressed Jupiter. So that drive or compulsion to expand and grow, we can anticipate it operating at both a psychological level and in the material world too. So the pursuit of increasing happiness, increased growth is prominent for Elon at this point in his life. And if we move to Trump's chart on the right, we can see that his progressed Venus is approaching a conjunction with his progressed Jupiter. So we might anticipate internal psychological drive towards happiness in relationships, an internal belief that he will benefit through relationships with those around him, and because Venus is involved, this could possibly be through finances too. Now, Trump's progressed Jupiter is interesting for other reasons too. We can see that there is a natal square between his Jupiter and his Saturn. Now, when Trump's progressed Jupiter became exactly square to this natal Saturn was when he became president for the first time. And we are talking literally to the minute, because this was something that was exact back in November of 2016. This progressed Jupiter is now pulling into a square with that natal Venus. Incidentally, this square between Jupiter and the natal Venus will become exact in 27, but it is building in intensity all the time because Jupiter moves quite slowly by progression. So again, we have this compulsive urge to expand and grow relationships and perhaps resources too during his presidential term. Might we argue that too much Jupiter is a bad thing? The square is bringing in compulsive qualities too, and so we may make errors of judgment and take risks which don't always play off. And this leads to the question, how are these two gentlemen getting on with each other? I have already looked at their composite chart in a different video, and it certainly has its strengths. The sun and moon have a very close trine between them, and so these two feel very much at ease and in tune with each other. Saturn is bringing in stability, but also some constraints. Unease with communicating with each other is here too, with both party being very sensitive to the niceties of communication as well. So not ruffling each other's feathers. Decent diplomacy, these are possible too, although we could say that with this pair, Venus and Mercury, teetering on the edge of the 12th house, their communications may be kept hidden and private, away from the public world. The relationship has an unusual quality. It might be something that takes the outside world by surprise. The fact that these two people have come together was not something that the world would anticipate. So I have already looked at this chart in a different video, but what I'm going to bring us down to today is this Moon, Neptune, Jupiter stellium, which is quite pronounced because it is square to the ascendant. Now, we do have pitfalls to having Jupiter and Neptune together. On the one hand, the relationship might have spiritual undertones. The two people in the relationship may feel that it has a higher purpose, perhaps that there was a metaphysical reason for them aligning with each other. But we have to be careful with this one. It can just as easily bring in such a distorted sense of well-being in a relationship that the two people are inclined to take risks. Neptune and Jupiter together are also a gambling kind of aspect, and so risk-taking is potential in this relationship. It's almost as though there is a foolhardy belief that whatever they do together, it will work out for the best. So all those Jupiterian desires to enlarge, to grow and to take risks, which I've just shown you in their progress charts, can be scrutinised in their composite chart too, because this is going to be a very strong part of these two men operating together. So there are these strong feelings of idealising the other, of indulging each other and having dreams. But all of this equally comes with that great risk that neither party sees the truth of the relationship clearly. Neptune distorts, it enhances the belief of something beautiful, something almost out of this world. And another pitfall is that one person may need to play second fiddle to the other. In other words, they may need to bow and acquiesce for the ego of the other, to adapt their behaviour and be submissive. I have been a little baffled by the entirely unexpected Mars. Now, these are two men who both have very strong Marses in their natal chart and in their outward behaviour. Neither of them are shy about expressing their wants and needs and going for the things they want. Not at all. And so this unaspected Mars has intrigued me. And it's also knocking around in the fourth house, the basement. Not the best situation for a composite Mars. Now, what we've been looking at has been a composite chart which is based on the midpoint method. It doesn't actually have a time and place. It's arguably the most widely used relationship chart, but there is a different chart that we can use too when we're looking at relationships between two people. The other most popular method is the Davison relationship chart. A Davison relationship chart takes the midpoint between the two people's birth times, and it also establishes the midpoint between the spaces where they were born, and it casts a chart for that latitude and longitude. We are reasonably confident in the birth times of these two people, and so let's have a look at this Davison chart down here. And blimey, take a look at this Mars. This is not a Mars that is going to bow and acquiesce to the other party and their ego. In fact, the potential for sudden explosions, for intractable willpower, and for damage is extremely high. This fixed square is very powerful, and in a relationship like this, the two people would be well advised not to attempt long-term plans or put great expectations on the longevity of the relationship. The probability of sudden and unexpected change is high. This relationship may be unstable and unpredictable. So without a doubt, this is an intensely energetic relationship between Elon and Donald. It will also be most stimulating and awakening, but it might not always be stable. Moreover, here we can also see that the Davison Neptune is square to the ascendant-descendant axis. So this capacity for delusion, for self-delusion, for over-idealization, for a coming down to earth is woven in here. The Davison relationship chart does show some very strong synchronicities with the composite charts too, because of course it too has Sun, Saturn. We have Venus close by. The opportunities for growth and for that strong chemistry, the feelings of being at ease with each other are intense here too. Now, composite charts are every bit as sensitive to transits, to progressions, to eclipses as our natal charts. But the impact is experienced differently because, of course, this is something that is speaking of the energy between two people as though it had a separate life of its own. The current position of this progressed composite moon is exactly square with Saturn. So things aren't necessarily as rosy as they may appear at the moment. This really is, though, just a passing aspect, perhaps an emotional disconnect at the moment, possibly even down to sheer workload. And it is going to pass, and we need to look at the rest of the progressed composite before forming any other opinions. Now, the progressed midheaven of the composite chart is now approaching the area of Elon Musk's natal ascendant and his super powerful Mercury. And so it's as though the relationship is giving Elon Musk the vehicle through which he can express his own character, his unique self-expression, and also his opinions. So using this relationship as a vehicle to express himself and communicate with the world is very emphasised at the moment. However, pressure is going to begin hitting this relationship if it manages to keep going for a couple of years, because this same progressed midheaven is going to oppose the Chiron between them in a couple of years' time. And at the same time, the progressed Sun is gradually moving into a conjunction with the composite Pluto. So we could have some very powerful and transformative energies intensifying greatly over the next couple of years, where deep and profound psychological transformation is going to be part and parcel of these two men coming together. The orbs that we use in a composite chart can be a little more generous than we might use in personal predictive work, and so we could anticipate changes coming in even as soon as 2026. They approach exactitude in late 2027, but will begin before that. As we've seen with the Davison Mars, this is not a relationship which one could necessarily take for granted. Now, I'm also aware that Trump is going to be experiencing a more turbulent transit himself during 2025. And this is when Uranus begins to square his ascendant, and this is indeed one of those transits that can be very disruptive in personal relationships. His formal and personal relationships will need to have a great deal of flexibility and understanding in them, because they may be up for change. We don't have to lose them all, but the energy is disruptive. Moreover, I have been working on Elon Musk's solar return beginning in June of 2025, and I can see there is very considerable strain in his personal relationships. I'll have that video with you shortly. Now, this last slide that I'm going to show you is entirely experimental. You may recall that we looked at a Davison relationship chart between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and I'd explained that the chart was based on the midpoints between the two men's birth times and the two men's birthplaces. And what I have done is taken that precise date and location in the world and cast a solar return for it. And what I want to show you is the vastly changing dynamic as this relationship progresses in time. So if we look at where we are now, we can see that this chart has got Uranus on the midheaven, which is about right, because of course this relationship has become much more public since Trump's inauguration and Musk's work with Doge. We have that fifth house sun in trine with the moon, showing harmony and flow between these two. And I'm looking very closely for tight aspects and for interplay between this solar return and the two men's natal charts. So we have this exact trine with that Venus close on the descendant and Jupiter. So harmony, happiness, diplomacy, getting along with each other could be part of this year. The pursuit of joint aims relating to the 10th house of profession, of social standing, these energies are favourable to that expression. This solar return moon is in the area of Trump's natal Mars, which is at around 26 degrees of Leo, and so this could be describing that injection of great energy, joint dynamism and enthusiasm, increased activity levels. And we can also see that Elon's natal Mars, which is at around 21 degrees of Aquarius, is on the descendant of this return. The Mars functions of these two men are in opposition to each other in their natal synastry, and so there may be some challenges to that periodically, but of all the tense aspects that they could have between their respective Mars, the opposition is probably going to be the easiest to handle. The two men will certainly have challenges, but there'll be some awareness and joint enjoyment of these. I think you could argue there was a little bit of instability in this chart, particularly with Neptune square to the return sun, but I'm not sure it would be enough to threaten the whole relationship. There may not be clarity around what each person is pursuing, and perhaps some transparency is lacking. But if we look at the year starting December 2025, it's a whole different picture. This Scorpio ascendant is showing deep and transformative energies at play this year, and we do have some very close aspects. It's a new moon return because the sun and moon are conjunct each other, so this is a much more prominent year. And we have these really tense and tight inter-aspects with Uranus, and down here with Neptune too. The return Venus is tightly square the return Saturn, and a lot of this energy is playing out across the second house of resources or value systems, no matter whether we are whole sign or Placidus houses. So are we going to find confusion, dissent and happiness, disagreements over resources, finances, personal values, possibly material security? I really do think this is looking a lot more challenging. Now, Trump's natal Pluto is in the area of this midheaven. His Pluto is around 10 degrees of Leo, and Pluto can be telling us something about possibly domineering and controlling behaviour. It could be speaking of crisis, an overhaul of the public role that the relationship fills. We have all this dissolution, dissolving, confusion, or even possibly outright dishonesty arising with this tight Neptune square. I think of all of the returns, this is the one that is most likely to speak of a potential ending, but certainly there are very significant conflicts of interest, possibly poor communication here, shocks and changes. If these two men can make it through to the following year, matters might improve. We have very close aspects between the return Sun, Chiron, and Jupiter. And so it's conceivable that this would be a year when the two men might be able to iron out any differences that have arisen over the course of their relationship, a place where they may still be able to benefit from their alliance and derive enjoyment from it. Of all of these returns that we have just looked at, it is the second one that is the most concerning. Thank you for watching. My video covering Elon Musk's year ahead will be out very shortly, and I'll be putting it on my other channel. This is called the Introverted Astrologer, TLDR. Too long, didn't read, where all videos will be 10 minutes or less, and it's intended for people who don't have much astrological knowledge. So if that content is of interest to you, the link is below this video in the description. And with that, I'll leave you in peace. Keep faith. God bless you all and your families.